Hi, my name is Stephen Sindoni. I'll be your host for Legend, Mystery, and More. In today's broadcast, I will feature two excerpts taken from a book written by author Emily A. Frank and entitled Mount Shasta, California's Mystic Mountain. In our second story today, I'll be featuring another story from Mansfield, also from the same book by Emily A. Frank, and that second movie is entitled Who Was Queen Etruceana? So this will be some interesting stories today based on a local mystic by the name of Abraham Mansfield.
In our broadcast today, we will discuss Queen Etruceana from an Abraham Mansfield book entitled The Golden Goddess of the Lemurians, with excerpts from Emily A. Frank's book entitled Mount Shasta, California's Mystic Mountain. The late Abraham Mansfield had a story to tell. He believed that Lemurians flourished in the Mount Shasta area, and he wrote a book in which he revealed the secrets of the Lemurian gold mines and also the circumstances which led to his unorthodox appointment and coronation as chief of the gods of the Lemurians, an honor which enabled him to view what he called the plates of time, which deal with mathematical equations and dimensions of secret solar control of atomic energy. Abraham Mansfield also claimed that he was in possession, having received 1/6 of Queen Etruceana's jewels. Who was Queen Etruceana? And how does it fit into this story? I will explain it to you as Abraham Mansfield himself, the author of the book, explained it to Emily A. Frank. Emily Frank was writing for the Dunsmuir News, a small weekly newspaper in extreme Northern California, when his book, The Golden Goddess of Lemurians, came out in 1970, and he sent her a copy of it. Along with the book, Abraham Mansfield sent enough strange material on Mount Shasta to fill 4 large manila envelopes. Some of the material was confusing to Emily A. Frank, but Abraham Mansfield swore it was all true. Mansfield said the plates of time are the treasured and ancient sciences of God from the very beginning and relate to a people deceased thousands of years ago. They dwelled on a chain of islands which sank into the oceans which we know now as the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. They were islands which included Etruria, Lemuria, Atlantis, and Oceanus. According to Mansfield, these prehistoric civilizations had far greater knowledge than we do of atom power, ESP, electronics, and science, and could pick up messages that were recorded in time and space from back civilizations to the beginning of time. He said that the Etruscan Lemurian story and the plates of time had been around for thousands of years, and his theory was as follows. Down the dim corridors of the ages, the world was different than it is now, and many islands flourished which have since sank to the bottom of the oceans. Among them were the above-mentioned islands, and they were ruled by Queen Etruceana, as was the entire world as it was known then, through a 10-nations council. Her husband, the king, was interested in other things. He was a great scientist and spent much of his time viewing foreign planets, building pyramids, and great towers. It appears, however, that the king was sterile. Queen Etruceana wanted sons to rule the world, so she took the 10 kings of the 10 Nations Council, one at a time, and produced 6 sons and 1 daughter. Thus, endowed with future kings, she and her sons would continue to rule the world. Queen Etruceana's plan was interrupted, however, when the Ice Age started. Mansfield claims in his book that the world tipped from north to south, throwing the south pole of the equator on the opposite side of the earth. In the chain of events, he wrote, all the ocean's currents were forced to flow northward. Quoting Mansfield, it was like a giant trowel around the center of the earth with a rim on both sides and the middle. Knowing of the impending disaster, Queen Etruceana and her king ordered 10 million Etruscans and Mongols to build reed boats with a light wooden structure. These boats were designed to hold 10,000 people and enough food to last until they could get to the top of the ice floe and recede with it. Then, when the expected second tip of the world came, all that could boarded the boats and headed north. According to Mansfield, north was safest because the safest place at the time of the Ice Age was at the top of the ice floe. Some took refuge on the highest parts of what is now South America, at one time Etruceana, and then some took refuge on any high land which protruded above the water. At the time of the disaster, Queen Etruceana decreed that her 6 son kings would be kings forever in heredity, even from the world beyond. The survivors of the Ice Age diligently kept records of the descendants of these sons through mental seances in order to find the rightful heirs to rule as the chief of the gods of Lemurians, a reign, said Mansfield, that changes every 30 years, even now. Also decreed was that the Inca nation was to train their chiefs, find the rightful king in heredity, and entrust to them the scientific knowledge of the plates of time so as to keep the knowledge on the plates forever alive, or to quote Mansfield, until our present civilization should become as enlightened in sciences as were those who lived before them. The manner in which Abraham Joseph Mansfield became chief of the gods of Lemurians was, as he said, through mental seances. And so it was in a bizarre chain of events that Mansfield became chief of the gods of Lemurians in 1934 in a ceremony performed at sunrise in the wilds of Del Norte County at the throne which was situated east of the Lemurian monastery under the cliffs at the heads of Bluff and Blue Creeks near Cinder Cone Peak. In that ceremony, Mansfield claims the honor entitled him to 1/6 of Queen Etruceana's jewels and also ownership to a most valuable Lemurian gold mine within the deep recesses of Mount Shasta, a shaft in which gold hung like icicles. This privilege, he said, was handed down to him through heredity from the ancient and enlightened Etruscan, Lemurian, and Atlantean civilizations. His reign ended in 1964 after 30 years, and he decided to write about it. What's more, Mansfield claimed he had Queen Etruceana's jewels to prove it. Mansfield had a bracelet with Etruceana engraved inside of it. The ornate bracelet is designed with 10 major crowns and 26 lesser crowns, which represented the large and small nations of the world as it was when she reigned. He said Queen Etruceana wore this bracelet at all the meetings of the 10-Nation Council, which were held on the island of Etruria. Also in Mansfield's possession was royal platinum servingware embossed with angels, plus the Queen's coronation bracelet, a pendant, other jewelry, and an actual faded likeness of prehistoric Queen Etruceana. Since Abraham Mansfield's passing, other stories have appeared unexpectedly, which seems to corroborate his story. J.C. Brown, alias J.B. Body of the Legend of J.C. Brown, also believed that he had found the mummified remains of Queen Etruceana under Mount Shasta. Ancient history is waiting patiently to be revealed. Thank you for tuning into the broadcast of Who Was Queen Etruceana?
And there you have it, the stories told by Abraham Mansfield, a local man of the Mount Shasta area in the early 1930s. As you undoubtedly know by now, mystery and intrigue is synonymous with Mount Shasta. Abraham Mansfield believed that Lemurian gold mines exist deep within Mount Shasta. So did the man who claimed to be J.C. Brown. Mr. Mansfield claimed to have been given the ancient secrets of the Lemurian gold mines, which allowed him to view what he referred to as the plates of time. Abraham Mansfield asserted that the Lemurian civilization once flourished long ago on 4 islands in the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. As I mentioned earlier, in the course of my own personal research to solve the legend of J.C. Brown, I came across information that talked about a village on the Mount Shasta where an ancient burial chamber with the remains of a mummified king and queen in ornate robes were found. It is my hope that these ancient myths and legends will one day in the not-too-distant future be solved. In our next broadcast, I'll be featuring more interesting stories about legends of Mount Shasta, so hopefully you'll tune into that broadcast because we have some interesting things that we're going to share with you. And today's shows have been shows that I really enjoyed bringing with you because, as I said, Abraham Mansfield was a local in this area, and to go out on a limb, which he did, to share these amazing and astonishing and bizarre tales of ancient civilizations buried deep below Mount Shasta is a far-fetched enough, and either he had a great imagination or there lies some truth in what he shared with us and what I've shared with you today. I like to continue bringing more stories to you like this. I've got more stories about legends. I'll be bringing you stories about UFOs, stories about American history, the great fires of New York, and other stories that will hopefully allow you to open up your minds and see that there are many things that have yet to be revealed. And I just like to take a look at things and take them apart and see where we go with them. But I felt Emily A. Frank, being a local in the area, had many stories to share with us that some may be myths, some may be legend, and truth has to lie somewhere in the middle. And so I felt it was good to look at some of these legends of Mount Shasta and see why someone of Mrs. Frank's background would take the time to go ahead and spend a number of years researching all these stories and bring them to life in her paperback novel. Well, there are many stories that can be found at the COS College in Weed, and also online you can find a lot of stories about Lemuria and ancient civilizations. And so this story has been around for many thousands of years, and California is synonymous with these legends, and you wonder why these legends continue to live on long after the stories have been told. So it's interesting enough that these things keep resurfacing, and many people come here looking for the mystique of the Magic Mountain. I myself have come here almost 4.5 months ago and still am enthralled by the mystique of the mountain. I've been on the mountain many times and enjoy the feeling, the eclectic electric energy that the mountain has to offer. I've met many people throughout the world who have come here with the hope of having something magical happen at Mount Shasta. Does magical things happen for everyone? That depends. But the mind is like a parachute. It'll only work if it's open. So many people come here with the hope that something mystical and magical will happen. Many people believe that there's a reason that they've come here, as though they've have come here before. So hopefully you've enjoyed our program. And in our next broadcast, I'll be featuring 2 more interesting stories about Mount Shasta, and hopefully you'll enjoy them. I believe the next broadcast will be about UFOs, and so hopefully you'll stay tuned. I think you'll find it interesting about more legends of unexplained craft and occurrences by locals who claim to have seen some phenomenal things in the skies of Mount Shasta for over 30 to 40 years. So this will be very interesting. So for those of you who've been watching, continue watching. Tell a friend, tell someone that Legend, Mystery, and More is just what it's cracked up to be. Stories that you won't find anywhere else. So thank you for tuning in today to our broadcast of Legend, Mystery, and More. And I want to thank everyone who at the studio who's been helping me to bring these shows to you and make things possible. So shout out to everyone here today for making this possible. And hopefully people like you will tell other people so that we can get everyone happily involved in the process and we can continue to do more shows like this. And I want to thank our sponsor, Soul Connections, for making this all possible today. So if we're
Soul Connection store is located at 329 North Mount Shasta Boulevard in the heart of downtown Mount Shasta, California. Soul Connections is a Golden Age emporium. Their mission is to service each soul walking the spiritual path. They are continually searching for one-of-a-kind handmade quality items from around the world that have the intent and design for just the right person. You can stop into their store or go to their website at soulconnectionstore.com and take a store tour. And once online, you can shop the online store. Then follow the easy-to-understand how to order instructions. You can even learn about their workshops. For all of your spiritual needs, visit Soul Connection Store in Mount Shasta or call them at 530-918-9533.